Welcome to Books of the Month. I'm your host, Dr. Larry Carnes, and we are glad that you join us. We have a very special and exciting guest with us today, and Dianne Davies. She's the author of this powerful book, Jeannie Ann's Grandma Has Breast Cancer. So, Dianne, welcome.
Thank you.
We're so glad that you could join us and glad that you could be here with us. This is such a powerful and exciting topic, but before we get into the book, share a little bit with us about who you are and where you come from.
Okay, I'll do that. I'm Dianne Davies. I'm an author of some children's books and an author of some other books. Right?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm a wife, a mother, grandmother of 2 children. I have a 12-year-old granddaughter and a 7-year-old grandson, and they live right next door to me, which is wonderful for a grandma. We all get along very fine.
Yes.
I taught elementary school for 26 years.
Teacher, yes.
A teacher, yeah. And I also, at the time that I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I became a breast cancer patient advocate.
Yes.
And an advocate, as you know, is somebody that helps others, empowers others, supports others, and in many ways takes care of them on their journey. And this happens to be with the breast cancer journey.
This is powerful. With the illustrations and the way that it's written, of course, it conveys that it's going to communicate to the younger generation, to young people, and of course, it's about grandma.
Absolutely.
So what was the inspiration to write a book of this type with the illustrations and speak it from a grandmother's perspective?
Well, the reason I went with grandmother is I wanted to have something that would enable conversation within a family.
Yes.
And a mother can have breast cancer, a grandmother can have breast cancer, a father or grandfather, but I wanted that to open up the door so that the family could have the conversation that they needed, because children need to know when there's a breast cancer or not just a breast cancer diagnosis, but any kind of a cancer diagnosis.
Yes.
They need to know what's happening within the family. Children are very perceptive, and as you read about Jeannie Ann in the story, she comes home and things are different because Mom forgot to give her a hug when she got home from school. Mom forgot to give her a snack, and Mom forgot that her baby brother was still in his pajamas that he'd been in all day.
Yes.
And so the Jeannie Ann realized that something was wrong, but she didn't know what it was. And children are also very they make things up.
So there were triggers.
Right.
And so so this book will pull the children into day-to-day life.
Right.
So that they don't feel excluded because they're children.
Right, exactly.
But it's generational, and it's going to bring them into the now of what's going on in the family.
That's right.
That's powerful. That's powerful. So what's been the impact that it's had not only on your family, immediate family, but even outside of your immediate family?
Well, as a breast cancer advocate, which I still am.
Yes.
I've done a number of things with Jeannie Ann, and one of them was an Angel Foundation winter retreat in January. The book came out in January. It was just published this past January. The winter retreat was at the end of the month. And I was asked to come and be a part of a family retreat where the main topic was going to be breast cancer. And I was asked to read my story, and after that to lead the students in some kind of a responsive activity where they'd write something or draw something or whatever. The whole purpose was to get them talking about the fact that their mothers all had breast cancer.
Powerful.
Yes,
Powerful.
very much so.
So now with that, making the children aware, knowledgeable of what's going on with their mothers, what's the impact that you've seen as a result of that and your involvement with this group?
Okay. Impacts that I see
Yes.
are very small. and because that's how we see impacts. We don't, as an author, as a teacher, as a preacher, you don't know what kind of a reach you've had. You can only tell by the little bits and pieces that are
Yes.
given to you. Well, during the Angel Foundation retreat, one young man started writing when I said I wanted them to respond in some
Okay.
way.
Yes.
He grabbed a piece of paper and he started writing and writing and writing and writing and writing and writing and writing. And the other children had already been up on their feet, shared what they had drawn or written or wanted to share, and he
Yes.
was still writing. And it was time for them to move on to the next series of activities that they were supposed to take part in. So he stopped the other students and he said, "Wait a minute, I didn't get a chance to share mine."
Wow.
And they all turned around, came back in, sat down, and listened to him read. And his story that he had written was that he was at, he and his mother were at a baseball game. And apparently, she had just found a lump in her breast.
Okay.
And she said something to her family about it, and her son happened to be there and heard. And so they started calling it a baseball tumor. Mom's got a baseball in her breast, kind of thing. And he said, we laughed and we laughed and we laughed about it all. And then Mom had surgery, and then it wasn't funny anymore.
My. So that's the impact that
That's
it had.
the impact. Absolutely.
See, immediate impact. And
Exactly.
viewing it from a child's perspective. So this child then got an opportunity to express the reality of his world.
And later on, at that same retreat, I had a chance to talk with just the parents alone.
Yes.
And well, as this young man was leaving, he said to me, "What do you want me to do with this paper?" I said, "It's yours. You know, if you want to throw it in the waste paper basket, you can. If you want to take it home, whatever, it's yours to do with what you'd like." And he said, "Do you want it?"
How old was he? The age
He
frame.
was in about 8th grade.
About the 8th grade.
Yeah. And I said to him, "I'd love to have it." So he gave me the paper. Later, when I was meeting with the parents, I shared it with the mother.
Yes.
And she read it and she started to cry.
Of course.
And she said, "I'm so happy I brought him here. This is the first he has responded and talked about my cancer."
Wow. So now, traumatic facts that were impacting his life. This young person had unhealed hurts, unmet needs, unresolved issues. Because you're there at this function, you became the outlet that
Absolutely.
allowed him to release. That's powerful.
That
now,
is very
I'm sure
powerful.
people want to get this book. Share your information, your website, your email,
Okay.
and how they can get this book.
Okay. My book is available at Amazon.com. It's available at BarnesandNoble.com.
Yes.
And it's available at my own website, which is DianneDavies.com. And it's also available through some of the local bookstores in Minnesota. But, you know, I'm hoping that this will help me reach
Praise the
further.
Lord. It'll be Amazon for me.
Okay. That
Minnesota,
Amazon for me too.
Minnesota, Lord Jesus. So there's an audience out there that's being reached even now. Our viewing audience. They're having an opportunity to hear from a different perspective,
Yes.
and to really move in and to see how impactful and how transformational this book
story
is.
can be,
Yes,
yes.
so very, very powerful.
Absolutely.
And even from a kid's perspective. So how do you see it impacting the younger generation, even with the opportunity that you had to share? Do you see other opportunities like that opening up for you as a result of the book?
Oh, absolutely. When the book was first published in January of
Yes.
2019, I had 2 corporate sponsors step forward, and one of them was a construction company, and one of them was a bank, and they donated enough money so that in turn I could donate this book to the cancer care centers in the state of Minnesota
How in the whole entire state?
and the whole state.
How powerful!
exactly.
So you've reached the entire state of Minnesota.
I hope so. I hope so. And also, just the day before yesterday, Jeannie Ann and I had a sudden idea,
Yes.
and I started a Jeannie Ann's Foundation. And so every book that's sold, 10% of the sales will go into Jeannie Ann's Foundation, and we'll continue to give those books to breast cancer care centers, hopefully throughout the United States.
Yeah, Jeannie Ann's. No, okay. So, how did Jeannie Ann's name end up here? Speak to us about that.
Well, like I said, I taught school for 26 years, and I'm a grandmother of a granddaughter. When you're a teacher, there are certain names that you would choose to
Yes.
use for something, and then there are other names that you would certainly stay away from,
Yes.
and not use them. And Jeannie Ann was just kind of a combination of a couple sweet little girls that I had as first graders.
Oh.
And those names just kind of came to me, and it was kind of a God thing.
So,
It was
from
just
some
pulled out of the air.
students,
Yeah,
you got the name.
yeah.
That's powerful and impacting. Wow, this is really, really, really awesome. So now, even with the victory and being the survivor, and then being an advocate for those who have, who are survivors and who have been victims of it, I've had it touch my life personally. My daughter's mother
Okay.
succumbed to breast cancer. And so it's been
Sorry to hear
something. So I'm intimately involved with that. I'm pinked out in October. I'm pinked out. When I travel the world, I still got my pink with me. I got my pink necklace. I got my pink little ribbon on my thing. So I'm pinked out. I got my pink golf shirt. So I got enough that I can wear pink every day.
Okay.
And so
All through October.
all through October.
Okay.
Every day I got something pink on. And so I'm intimately involved with that. What's the impact or the significance? And I want to look this from a male perspective. How critical is it for males to be sensitive to this breast cancer thing? Because this thing is huge and it runs rapid. How critical is it for males to be sensitive to that?
Very, very critical. Many times, I was a Reach to Recovery volunteer for the American Cancer Society.
Yes.
So when someone is newly diagnosed with breast cancer, I would be contacted, and I would make an initial visit either to the home or invite the woman out for coffee somewhere. And, we would have an opportunity to talk about things. Many times, the husband doesn't stay. The husband leaves because he can't handle the what's happening.
Wow, now that's powerful. Speak to us about the impact with you being intimately involved with that. What type of traumatic impact does it have on that husband where he's not able to stay there because because many people will look from the outside thinking that the males are insensitive. But is it that they're insensitive or that it's having such a traumatic impact upon them, they don't know how to deal with it?
I think some of them are just insensitive to
Okay.
it. I think there's a certain percentage that absolutely are. I think there's another percentage that are, they're so afraid
Fear.
of what's coming and what's happening that they can't deal with it. They can't jump in and say, that's okay.
Yes.
Honey, I still love you. My husband, thank goodness, when we talked about what I was going to do, was I going to do a lumpectomy? Was I going to do a mastectomy? I said, I want to do a mastectomy, but I want to do a double mastectomy because my mother had breast cancer in the early 70s, and she only had one breast removed, so all the rest of her life she was lopsided and had trouble dressing and all that kind of stuff. But my husband said, your breasts are nice and all of that kind of stuff, but he said, if I had to choose between having your breasts or having you, I'd rather have you.
Wow, that's powerful. We so listen. We need this is so powerful, so impactful, and we're just so appreciative of you coming in, and with what you've shared is going to cause worlds and lives to be transformed. It's going to cause people to be empowered, and hopefully eliminate that fear factor. We have about 30 seconds before we're closing. Share with the audience something that you feel is impactful for them to know in that short time that we have.
Okay, wow, that's
It's a short one.
there's a lot to talk
Yeah,
about.
but just briefly.
When you're talking with children about a cancer diagnosis, whether it's breast cancer or any kind of cancer, there's the 4 C's, okay?
Yes.
That you need to remember. And the first C for a child is, did I cause it?
Okay.
Second one is, can I catch it?
Mm-hmm.
And the third one is, what?
Cure it.
Oh, that's right. Thank you. Can I cure it? So
Wow.
it's cause it, catch it, cure it, and the last one is, who's going to take care of me?
That's powerful. Cause it, catch it, cure it,
And who's going
to
to
take care
of me?
Those are answers, and those are things that can be answered. We thank you so much for coming in.
Oh,
we
you're very
trust that
welcome.
people will contact you and get in touch with you. And you know, this has been another powerful episode of Books of the Month. And you know, we're just excited about you joining us, and thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.